So my name is Sarah Grimwood. I'm the acting chair of the Natural Resources Commission, and I'm calling this public meeting to order at 7 o'clock. This meeting will be conducted virtually. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the meeting, the public may access this call through video conferencing or telephone. Following the presentation by the petitioner and questions from the Commission, members of the public will have the opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment. Please identify your name with the name and address for the record. You can also raise your hand from your phone by dialing *9 and use *6 to unmute. All video screens will be turned off with the exception of the commissioners, Delia, and the current petitioner. Once the commission has acted on an application, the petitioner is free to leave the meeting. Screen sharing will not be permitted unless absolutely necessary, and all votes will be taken by roll call vote. In the event of any technical difficulties, all matters on the agenda that have not been heard will be automatically continued to the November 17th NRC meeting. At this time, I would like to ask the commissioners to introduce themselves. Greg.
Greg Higgins.
Nick.
Nick Pappas.
Gary.
Gary Kleiman.
That's everyone, right? Yeah.
I think tonight, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so first on the agenda was to approve the meeting minutes from July 21st. I wasn't actually at that meeting, so I'm not able to comment, but were there any suggested changes?
I had one which I sent to Karen, might have required some interpretation by Delia. There seemed to be some words missing.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Thank you, Nick. Anyone else? Okay, can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of, what's the date? July 21, 2021, as amended.
Thank you, Greg.
Second.
Thank you, Nick. So Gary.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Greg.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Thank you. Delia, do we have a director's update today?
We do not.
Thank you. Okay, so we have
I make a motion to open the hearing and continue it till November 17th for DEP file number 137-1582. That's 11-13 Williams Road.
Second.
Thank you, Gary and Greg. Nick.
Aye.
Gary.
Aye.
And Greg.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Okay, so we're going to start off with a continuance, notice of intent, 66 the Valley Road. Who do we have representing this one, please?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Matt Morrow. I am here representing Nate Els. I also believe I see Nate on the call as well. This is a continuance from the previous meeting. We had the plans adjusted for the commission request. There were some material, there were some stumps that were cut, trees that were cut down. So we had all the stumps that were marked down from the trees cut, a replanting schedule placed on the plan, as well as a tree protection detail, not only for the trees that are existing, but for the trees that are proposed to be planted as well. That would consist of some small orange fencing around the saplings with the sign that says tree protection area. The reason being for that is we want to ensure that, you know, the trees that are planted that are for restoration are clearly marked, and that anybody that walks on that site will know exactly what was replanted and what is scheduled for protection, because they will be monitored for growth, and any trees that, you know, become not viable that need to be replaced would be replaced. Monitoring reports on the trees will be submitted to the commission per the schedule that was enclosed with the amended plans. And that's basically it. I mean, I'm open to any questions you guys may have.
Thank you very much. That does seem very clear to me. The only comment that was called out by staff was that we should include a special condition to recommend that the existing septic system remain abandoned in place. So we'll include that. And then also that if removal is necessary, you would have to submit a new plan to the Natural Resources Director explaining what the plan was and the proposed soil excavation area and removal methods.
Certainly.
Thank you. So aside from that, do any of the commissioners have any comments?
No.
Are there any comments from the public? Colleen, Delia, no? Okay, great. So could I have a motion to close the hearing and order?
I'll move that we
Thank you.
close and issue an order of conditions for 66 The Valley Road, DEP file number 1371577, with finding A, standard conditions 1 through 20, and special conditions 21 through 52.
Thank you, Greg. And we'll have the vote. So Gary,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Thank you.
Thank you very
That's
much,
great.
ladies and gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Okay, so next on the agenda, we have 777 Virginia Road. Who do we have representing?
Good evening tonight. My name is Gene Crouch. I'm with Vanessa and Bruslin. We're an engineering company in Watertown, Massachusetts, working for the Ross Retrix applicant.
Thank you.
With me, I should mention, with me tonight is the project engineer, Chris Nowak. So if there's something I can't address, he'll certainly be able to chime in.
Okay, so would you like to talk through the changes since we last met, please?
Our last meeting, the last meeting we were in front of you was quite a while ago, September 22nd. I thought it might be worthwhile to give just a very brief recap of what the project is about. It involves a developed area of Hanscom Field, which is off of Virginia Road. It involves construction of some expanded facilities for air operations. The project will remove a series of existing T hangars and replace them with 3 20,000 square foot hangars and include offices for each hangar, a garage for ground support equipment, parking spaces, and an access drive around the back of the hangars. There is work within 50 feet and within 25 feet of the wetland boundary. But as a result of the project, there'll be a slight reduction in the within 25 feet of the wetland in terms of impervious area, and about 100 square feet of reduction of impervious area between 25 and 50 feet of the wetland boundary. The original filing we came to you with had as part of the access road along the back of the hangars, had a roundabout or a circle so trucks could turn around. Had a comment in the first hearing about possibly changing that to a T intersection. We did that, and it turned out that that was actually that it worked and that it reduced work within the buffer zone. And in fact, it also allowed us to avoid cutting down trees within the buffer zone. That was actually a good suggestion that we've incorporated. The filing we put to you before had about 14,000 square feet of new impervious area within the buffer zone. We went back, we were slightly under that in terms of restoration of buffer zone. We went back and found some additional areas that we could work on. And if you go to the next figure, there you go. This represents the proposed impervious and proposed revegetated areas or replanted areas. So the pink area represents the proposed impervious, and the green, the light green is the planted areas. The darker green is the actual wetland itself that's we're adjacent to. So we went from, I think originally we were around 12,000 square feet of replanted areas. We're up to 17,000 now. So there's an increase over what is proposed for impervious. The next, if you go to the next figure and zoom out, there we go. The only other changes to the plans themselves include these two areas in color. The blue area is a fire pump room that was added, and then the beige area is the emergency electric line or service room that was added to the plans. Those were not on the original plan set. So I just wanted to make that clear. They're slightly within the outer edge of the buffer zone. And these areas as impervious areas are incorporated in that previous impervious area calculation.
Okay.
Now, in the intervening period, we have met with the town assistant town engineer and the executive director of natural resources, and to talk about possible or potential improvements to the stormwater management system, and addressing the comments that the town engineer had on the project. What we've come up with is, if you go to the next picture, the next figure, is the big concern was adding infiltration to the stormwater system. We did not have it originally. So what we have proposed here is our two infiltration galley systems, one on either side of the hangars. The reason we did not include it is our analysis indicated that groundwater was very high in the area, in fact, throughout the airport, and that this may not work or be very effective. What we have determined or agreed to with the town engineer was to do new test pits in these locations, in these actual locations, right where these infiltration systems are proposed, and then reevaluate whether or not these can be installed, or if they need to be designed and changed in the design in some way or not. So we will be doing that in the near future. They will be witnessed by the assistant town engineer, and then we will have discussions with him about whether or not what designs we need to do going forward with these systems. That's pretty much it at this point.
Sheen, just as a clarification on the stormwater infiltration systems,
Sure.
They are fully designed. The updated calculations have been provided. The test pits will confirm groundwater elevations within those areas. Our client's committed to building that additional recharge should it be feasible.
Right, and the next figure actually has it's the detail sheet from the plan set. It's in the in the red circled area. That's gives you essentially a typical section that would of what these infiltration systems would be. It's an plastic arch system. Water is discharged into, and they're surrounded by stone, so it allows water to infiltrate from around them. I might add that these infiltration systems would be receiving roof runoff only. So it'd be coming right off the roofs into these things. And that's pretty much it for the moment. what we would like to do, well, first of all, if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer on them, any of them.
So I don't, Jean, it's all very clear. You covered the points that we needed to. Are there any questions from the commissioners on what Jean's presented?
I have one. If these pits are in, if these basins are infeasible, what will happen to the roof runoff?
Well, the original design and actually continues with this design is the roof runoff would go into these chambers, but these chambers would then overflow into a detention basin. That's the large gray block behind the hangars, sort of horizontal, yeah, right there. That is an underground detention system. So that's intended to receive the roof runoff and essentially meter it out like a surface detention basin. If in this case, because the groundwater is so high, the site kind of functions like a de-soil because there's so much, the ground would be saturated very quickly in a storm. So there's not really a lot of opportunity. There may not be a lot of opportunity for infiltration is what the question is. And that's what we'll figure out with these test pits.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the commission?
Yeah, I mean, and not to belabor it, because I know it's an unknown, but you've designed these galleys on either end of the building without knowing what you're designing them to, in other words, because you haven't done the holes. That's what you're saying?
No, we actually have geotechnical information. It just wasn't
You did?
witnessed by the
Okay, so
assistant
this
town
isn't a
engineer.
blind thing. I just
That's
wanted,
correct.
I assumed it wasn't. I didn't want people to, 3 years from now, listen to this discussion and say they designed something, they had no clue what they were building to.
No, we have geotechnical information. It just wasn't witnessed by the assistant town engineer.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. And before we go to public comment, Jean, did you say that there was something else you wanted to mention?
No, that's it. I mean, these are the changes, and a lot the continuation of the hearing is really in large part to negotiate or discuss the comments of the town engineer and relative to stormwater management, which we've achieved.
You have. Thank you. Thank you. So I'll now open it to public comments then, if there are any. No. Okay. So, well, thank you very much for addressing all of our, questions and concerns. I think we're ready to close with some special conditions. If someone can take that, please. Thank you.
Yes, I move that we close the hearing and issue an order of conditions for 777 Virginia Road, DEP file number 1371574, with findings A and B, standard conditions 1 through 20, and special conditions 21 through 64.
Second.
Can I just check, Delia, should I have read out the special conditions?
I would just read out those 4 that are sort of particular to this project.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was thinking Nick would do that as part of his, but then of course he didn't know that. So, okay, so we have 4 special conditions that we want to just highlight. Number 1 is additional test pitting in areas identified by Concord Public Works shall be conducted by the applicant and witnessed by CPW staff to determine if additional infiltration can be achieved prior to the pre-construction meeting. The second one is, should soils be found to be suitable for additional infiltration, revised drainage calculations shall be provided to the Natural Resources Division and CPW for review and approval prior to the pre-construction site visit. Number 3, any changes within jurisdictional resource areas shall require an amendment to the order of conditions. And number 4, the applicant shall obtain approval from CPW, Water and Sewer Division for compliance with WNS regulations prior to the pre-construction meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
think those are kind of in line with what we were thinking. We were expecting that you would condition this for the test pits to be witnessed and then the systems be basically approved by the engineering department.
thank you. We just wanted to put it all on the record.
Sure,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Jean. Okay, so Nick, thank you for calling that out. Did I hear a second on the close?
Yes, I said second.
Greg,
Thank you,
second.
Greg. Thank you, Greg. I will take a vote then. So Gary,
Aye.
Nick, you're on mute.
Aye.
Thank you. And Greg,
I,
and I'm an aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yep,
Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
Good night.
You may mute because
Okay.
there's a dog in
night.
there.
Okay. Okay, so next we have 61 Black Duck Road. Who do we have representing today, please?
I'm Eric Klumpacher, and I think Rich Harrington may have joined as well.
Yes.
yes,
Oh, thank
I
you.
just need to recuse myself as I did
Oh,
last
thank you,
time.
Greg.
I have family owning land near there.
Evening, everybody.
Good evening, Eric.
Should I share the content I provided, or
No, you shouldn't share. Colleen could put it up if needed. But I just want to start, Eric, by just saying that I'm actually very confused because last time we met, we gave, I thought, some very clear direction that the design should not be any closer to the wetlands than the limit of the existing deck. But in looking to the various options that you've put into your plans, I see that you haven't been able to do that. So I just want to understand why you've brought forward proposed plans that don't actually meet the guidance we gave at the last meeting.
so alternatives 1 through 4, I thought do meet that guidance. So maybe I should go through them and understand where the confusion is.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna start sharing the PowerPoint then.
So the goal is to get out of the 50-foot zone. The 50-foot no disturb zone, or no build zone, sorry.
Well, so much of the house is within the 50-foot no build zone.
Right, but the new additions.
Okay, so I guess now I understand where the confusion is. Yeah. So the design, we have this existing deck, which is about 30 feet from the wetlands. And you can see that so that area in purple is the existing structure that's within the 50-foot.
Mm-hmm.
In the original filing, we showed how in the back, in the I guess the southeast corner, we could not build there because of septic. South corner, or the southern corner, was challenging due to the setback from the both the back and the side. The north was impossible, infeasible, because it's over the garage and would not fit with the flow of the house. We'd have to basically, that's where our bedroom is. My understanding was that the issue was the fact that the deck is right now 30 feet from the wetlands, and that the proposed addition would be 27.5 feet from the wetlands, that corner right there. So that red dotted line was, my understanding, the issue, where there's that 2.5 feet, from where the red dotted line is versus where the proposed addition was. My understanding, that was where that was the issue. And I actually have, that was based on, reading of the language of the policy and what I heard during the last meeting. If you go to slide 4.
So I would like to point out, so the you've referred in what you submitted, you've actually referred to an old policy from 2018, which was updated in June 2021 this year. So there are some differences there that we need to take
That was
into
a policy I
account.
received from Delia on December 9th, 2020, and that's what I've been referring to using.
Okay, well, unfortunately, it was updated in June. And that is the problem.
Eric, that information was shared with you in May of this year, that the policy was being clarified based on conversations that you had questions about.
Okay. All right, well, I guess maybe I need to go back and
Yes,
get that
unfortunately.
information.
There
Maybe 5
were,
minutes, I can plow through this pretty quick, just so you can see the thought that went into this, and then I can go back and look at some additional information.
okay, if you think that would be helpful, but it's very clear that you're going to have to come back again, taking that into account. Do you want to do that?
I'll be very quick about it.
So I think I would also just point out, Eric, that the policy from 2018 compared to the policy in 2021, there's no difference in what we had discussed in terms of the encroachment cannot get closer. You had questions on what constitutes a structure, and there was multiple conversations around that.
Okay.
And the clarification was that it's around the principal structure. That's language that is now in that policy for clarification, because it was clear to the commission, but perhaps not clear to the public or to applicants who are reviewing it. So that's really the only difference. But the salient points of not getting closer than the existing encroachment is that language has not changed.
Okay, well, so in that case, slides 10 and up might be the most relevant to go through. I can be quick about it.
Okay.
So slide 4, we looked at chopping off that corner to not get any closer than the existing deck. Slide 5, similarly, we looked at chopping off one corner and then chopping off the north corner to maintain symmetry. Slide 6, we it's basically similar to alternative 1, except one continuous face, and then slide 7, another version with one continuous face, but with probably the deck included into the main living area. So those were the alternatives that we looked at to try to avoid any further encroachment further than the distance of the deck. So I thought that was based on in the spirit of your guidance, and that's why we went and through and looked at that. Unfortunately, slide 8, the cost for the redesign is definitely out of our budget, and so I'm between a rock and a hard place if I do need to.
Well, let me also point out some other areas that we would have discussed last time, just so that you're clear, Eric, when you revisit this. So you mentioned that you also want to replace retaining wall and remove invasive species. Both of these activities need to be detailed out on the plan with the locations of the invasive species noted. And you mentioned that there's going to be buried stumps to be removed in front of the proposed addition. This also needs to be put on the plan. And finally, the narrative notes that an abandoned metal fence is currently in the no disturb zone. This needs to be noted on the plan that it's going to be removed. And finally, there's a drain noted to be removed in the narrative as well, and this needs to be added on the plan. So, so the bottom line is that any changes that you're going to be making all need to be noted very clearly on the plan for approval. And then further with the invasive species removal, As well as noting on the plan, what's going on there, you also need to provide an alternative method to cutting the plants, because they'll resprout if they're treated in the way that you've proposed so far. And then we also need a replanting plan to be submitted. And finally, the duck coop that you have is in the 25-foot no disturb zone. So this will need to be relocated outside of that area. And we thought it looks like you've got various options of where you could move that. So it'd be good to understand what you plan to do there as well.
Sure. Yeah, that's all on my to-do list.
Great.
I guess the reason that the NOI is the way it is I had spoken with a prior chair of the NRC about the tight spot I was in, and the guidance I had gotten from him unofficially was that I should, submit what I had and start the discussion with the committee just before I spent even more money and time on all these other
Yeah.
items.
Well, we were very clear at the last meeting, and
I'll definitely work on those other things you listed. I'm aware of them, and they're on my to-do list.
Okay.
So, I guess moving right along, the slide 10 really quick. Again, this is probably the one that's the most relevant. I looked at, actually, you should skip to slide 12. Like I said, I promise I'd be quick. So, so this was the language I said. I was referencing that the work would be permitted to the extent that no alterations do not result in a
Yeah, so
reduction.
this is the outdated language that we just referred to.
Okay, I found the definition, pretty clear definitions of what is a structure, what is not a structure, and then slide 13.
Yeah.
I went
So-
through and compared the existing man-made alterations. Go to slide 13.
So we
Existing man-made
appreciate
alterations versus
the clarity, but if you could update all this with the new, the revised guidance, that would be needed, please.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so I'll open it up. Do the commissioners have any additional comments or questions to help with this? Or did we cover everything?
Not from my side. I mean, if we
Thank
can
you.
get you updated, it'd be great. Thanks.
Yep. Any public comments?
I guess the one thing I would say is last time Deanna made a comment that her feedback was falling on deaf ears, and my perspective is that this seems to be a moving target. It would have been good to know all of the rules before the process, before we invested in the architect design. But that was 2 years ago, and this is water under the bridge. And I guess I'm just struggling with the result of learning the process along the way. So thanks for your patience and for providing those additional guidance.
Okay. So when would you like to come back? So for the next meeting, November 17th, you would need to have everything submitted by Friday. So I would expect you probably need more time than that. So would you like to aim for the December 1st meeting, or just come back to us when you're ready?
December, I can work towards December 1st. I guess one question is, should I try to, it seems to me like the main issue is the encroachment within the no disturb zone. So before I, go through and get a landscape designer or wetland specialist to do the documentation of the, invasive species removal and the planting plan, instead, before I spend money and time on that, should I first instead focus on addressing that question? Which means I wouldn't have a complete submission, but could maybe address this encroachment issue and decide if it's a go or no go.
I guess that's entirely up to you, but we wouldn't be able to actually sign off on this until everything that we've asked for is in place.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
Nick.
But yes, but that may be the most difficult one, and maybe the one that should be addressed first.
It definitely has been the most difficult.
Right. It often
Thank
is.
you, Nick. Okay, so we will expect to see some revised plans then, and we hear that you're aiming for December 1st.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So moving on, next we have 821 Strawberry Hill Road. Who do we have representing?
Hi, good evening. Molly Obendorf with.
Hi, Molly.
I am representing Beth Fishman, who has submitted a plan for a proposed dwelling at, it's actually a new lot approved by the planning board via A&R. And last we met with the commission, I presented a plan that hadn't been submitted to the commission just to get some comments on it. It has since been submitted, and I will first speak to items that are outside the buffer zone, but were brought up. One of which is the gas easement, the 50-foot gas easement in the front of the property adjacent to Channing Way or Channing Road. We did receive approval from the gas company to do the work proposed in the easement area. And I do believe that that letter from the gas company was submitted to the commission as well. So you're on receipt of that. The second thing was there was a concern about the runoff from the driveway. I explained that we had proposed an infiltration trench to catch the driveway runoff. And then there was an additional concern about the grading associated with the driveway. So we have provided an additional culvert underneath the driveway. So the stone wall will virtually act as like a head wall. So that low point there in between the properties will allow any water coming off of that slope to drain away from the adjacent property and contain it on the project property here. And now I will speak to the work inside the buffer zone. This is a new footprint that you see. As I explained at the last meeting, the original footprint needed to be modified in order to be in compliance with the height requirements. It's, there's a steep drop off in the way that height is calculated. There needed to be modifications to the footprint. So this is the new footprint. It's no closer to the wetland than the original footprint. It's actually a little further. I believe there was about a 1 foot increase to the dwelling, and there was the deck remained the same. So there was no encroachment closer to the buffer zone with regard to that. Also, we have submitted a planting plan for the mitigation area, which includes 47 shrubs. And to mitigate the 12 trees that will be removed within the buffer zone, there is also a tree planting plan to include 12 replacement trees. There was also a concern about the size of the footprint in comparison to that of the neighborhood. Colleen, I don't know if you have the aerial view that I provided. If not, I'm happy to pull it up. But basically, it's just an overlay of the neighborhood showing the footprints adjacent to the properties within the neighborhood and shows that the footprint is commensurate with the footprints in the neighborhood. It's actually one of the smaller footprints in the neighborhood. So I think it's a very modestly sized dwelling for the area and the property itself. And I think that was it. Oh, just we did provide sizing calculations for the infiltration trenches for the dwelling and the driveway at the recommendation of the commission. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
So I guess the one question came up is, why you still need to be in the buffer zone and have so much disruption to trees and such like. I mean, have you looked at alternative plans that didn't cause so much disruption?
So that's difficult with the gas easement that's in front. It was, a process even just to get the utilities and the driveway approved by the gas company. I don't think any encroachment closer with the dwelling and the septic systems. This is virtually the most minimal impact to the property. And on that aerial view that I provided also shows the basically the proposed tree line in comparison to that of the neighborhood. And it's actually further away from the rear of the properties than the surrounding neighborhood. So the plan that you see is considering, the wetland and is the most minimal approach for the site.
Okay. Okay, well, we will need to see a construction work plan submitted for review. And also an updated chart of the impervious surfaces within the 100-foot buffer zone, please. Okay, and it was also noted that a flared end detail for the driveway culvert and the house's foundation drain need to be provided. I'm not sure, Molly, if these have been talked through with you already, or am I?
No, they haven't.
Okay, okay. We would also like the replacement plantings to be shown on the plans. And then also the mitigation plantings on the plans. And then any trees that are going to be protected will need to be labeled, please.
So construction schedule is the first thing, right? And then detail for culvert, detail for foundation drain, planting shown on plan.
Any protected trees.
And I think there was the updated impervious chart.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Do any of the commissioners have any other comments or questions?
No, you covered most of what I was seeing as well.
Thank you, Gary. Let me think. I think that's everything, Molly. So is that all clear then, our requests?
Yes.
Yeah, were there any public comments? No.
Sue Felshen has her hand up, Sarah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Sue, please speak. Go ahead.
Hi, Sue Felshen, 19 Sunnyside Lane. Please excuse my ignorance. If the point of the gas easement is to get gas to other properties, then I understand the issue. If the point of the gas easement is to get gas to the dwelling itself, then it seems to me the clear answer is to go all electric and not have gas, thus solving the problem with the easement and the wetlands. Thank you.
No, Sue, that's the Tennessee gas line, very large gas line that runs north-south for miles and miles and miles.
Okay, were there any other comments?
I don't see any.
Okay, so Molly, would you like to come back with the plan revisions for the next meeting?
Yeah, we'll try for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so next we will move to 55 Seymour Street. Who do we have for this one?
Good evening. I'm Kevin Ritchie from Civil Solutions.
Oh, Kevin, good evening.
I'm here with Al Goodrich. He's the owner of 55 Seymour Street.
Excellent.
So 55 Seymour Street's down on White Pond. He's got an existing failing cesspool and an overflow cesspool here in the side yard. They're basically with buffer from the to the pond. One of the cesspools, the overflow is just kind of clipping the 50 foot. So what we're proposing is to basically pump these cesspools out and abandoning them. Then putting in the new tanks down in this area, in the same area as the existing pits or cesspools, and then pumping the effluent up here, up to the edge of Seymour Street, outside the 100-foot buffer. So 100-foot buffer coming along here. And we're putting the leaching area outside of that. We're using plastic septic tanks. Basically, the access to this area here is extremely limited. Driveway, a paved driveway over to this side of the house, but there is a concrete and stone retaining wall just off the rear of the house along the back here, which basically eliminates any access with a machine through here. So we went with the plastic tanks. Those will be something a small excavator will be able to carry down the hill and set in this area here. So again, we're going to be putting in new plastic tanks, pumping the effluent up here, trying to avoiding any of the trees. We show the larger trees. The rest of it's just kind of brushy up here in the area of the leaching area. There's a couple of large rhododendrons, but again, those are outside the 100-foot buffer. Obviously clear this area for 5 feet around the septic leaching area. We are proposing to replace some of the brushy vegetation with some rhododendrons that we show here. Proposed rhododendrons in this area here inside the 100-foot buffer. Again, so basically the access for getting down here to the tanks will be, they'll have to take the machine, will have to go down the same route that the force is going to be in. Let's see, so this plan, it has been sent to the Natural Heritage. Natural Heritage had no issues with the project. The plan has been before the Board of Health. It has been approved by the Board of Health. And that's pretty much it, I guess.
Thank you. I know originally there was some questions about trees being removed, but my understanding is they were just shrubs in the end, so we don't need to mark the trees. Is that correct? Were there any trees being removed?
No, correct. None within the 100-foot buffer.
Okay, great.
The trees up here in the area of the leaching area will be moved.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions?
No
Well,
question.
what kind of machine, you're going to run your machinery down the pipeline? Is that what you said?
That's the plan. Since I mean, we're going to dig it up anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we might as well use that as the path to bring the tanks down there.
And you're going to use what, a little track hoe?
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. Are there any public comments or questions? No hands up? No, thank you. Okay, so I think we were hoping to be able to close the hearing tonight, Kevin, but as I think you're aware, the DP file number hasn't been assigned yet. Is that still correct?
Is my last check that it had not been.
Yeah, no, that's unfortunate, but so we'll have to move this off hopefully to the next meeting and can close then. You don't have to be present.
Okay.
But unfortunately we're not able to close this out tonight because that file number is not available. Okay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Otherwise, thank you very much. It's very clear.
All
All
right.
the best.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next we have 114 Stone Root Lane. Who do we have
This is
to represent this?
Jane Coutray, property owner, 114 Stone Root Lane.
Good evening, Jane.
Good evening. We have a 43-year-old driveway that needs replacing. And we'd like to extend the little bump out by about 15 feet, keeping it 10 feet wide by 15 feet. Currently, it's a natural area, a lot of organic matter under sand, over sand. No plantings need to be removed. Currently, we want this done because, well, what I didn't show on this, that on the both sides of that large area in front of the garage doors, there's stone walls. And for safety reasons, we'd like to have more maneuvering room as we get older so that we can pull out safely from the driveway to the street. And,
Okay.
and directly opposite the garage doors, there's a large berm. So it's basically bounded on all sides, except for where that little bump out is. So we try to minimize the additional paving.
Okay, so thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Were there any questions from the commission? Nope, I'm not seeing anything. Gary?
Seems pretty clear.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And sorry, Greg, did you have a comment?
No, I said I don't have any comment.
Thank you.
I hit the button right in the middle of saying it.
And my understanding is that actually this is further off from the wetland boundary than what was submitted on the plans. So so we're fine there.
Okay.
The only recommendation is that we're going to include a condition just to clarify that materials should be stockpiled outside of the 50-foot zone, the no build zone.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any public comments? Okay, so could I ask somebody to close this out, please, then?
I'll do it.
Thank you.
I move that we close and issue a negative determination number 3 for 114 Stone Root Lane with the following conditions. 1, a pre-construction site visit shall be held with DNR staff and the contractor to review limits of work. 2, stockpiling shall occur outside the 50-foot buffer zone. And 3, after the project has been completed, the applicant shall submit a letter to the NRC stating that all work has been conducted in accordance with all conditions of this determination of applicability. Any changes from the RDA shall be described.
Second.
Thank you, Gary.
Third.
So let's take a vote. Greg, please.
Aye.
Gary.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Thank you, Jane. You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
And next we have 31 Sunnyside Lane.
Hello.
Who do we have? Oh, Molly again. Hi.
For the record, Molly Windorf with Stamsky McNary, representing Bentley Building Corporation, and I believe Mark White is on the call with us tonight. This property is located at 31 Sunnyside Lane. There is an existing single-family dwelling and some impervious area in back, concrete patio. There's a shed, and then I think a second patio as well. So the project is to remove the existing dwelling structures and impervious area and construct a new single-family dwelling with a detached garage, on-site septic system, and driveway. Much of the property is within the 100-foot buffer zone. And the increase in impervious area from existing to proposed is around 1,500 square feet. And we are providing a mitigation area, one-to-one area for the increased impervious area. provided are 61 native shrubs. The existing tree line extends into the 25-foot no disturb. So we are proposing to restore that area and then a little bit more as well. Also shown on the plan are sprinkler heads that are outside the 50-foot no build. And we're also showing pheno markers along the restoration area to protect that area in the future and to not mow beyond that area. There is one thing on this plan that was discussed with the applicant after the fact. Originally, the roof drains for both the dwelling and garage were proposed to be discharged to the street and then incorporated in the drainage for the Sunnyside Lane improvement. However, we feel that it would be beneficial to separate this project from that project. So we would like to revise the plan to show infiltration trenches for both the proposed dwelling and proposed garage. They will be fully outside the 50-foot no build, but that will keep this project separate, and I think it would be beneficial for the property as well to do that. So again, we will provide a revised plan that shows that. And if the commission has any additional comments or questions, we would be happy to answer them.
Okay, so we would need to include a special condition requiring a foundation as built for the garage and dwelling prior to construction of the foundation. And also the plan needs to be revised to offset the distance to the approved wetland boundary.
So we are showing distances to the garage and the dwelling.
So the dwelling ties to the unapproved wetland boundary off the property. So it just needs the dwelling, the corner of the dwelling at the bottom of the drawing. Just needs to tie to the existing wetlands approved line.
Yeah.
That line was approved.
The one that's off the property, Mark, it's on the wet flag 5A end. So we were just incorporating the approximate wetland line from the GIS maps. So they're requesting that we show the dimension to the existing.
Sarah, would you mind repeating your first condition? I thought you said we had to provide an as-built before we poured the foundation on the garage. Did I understand that correctly?
After.
After.
So
Okay.
before you construct on the foundation. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry if I was not clear. Okay, or if I was unclear. Okay. So, Molly, you still need to schedule with the planning board for a proposed roadway improvement plan.
This is a separate project. So it's not, and that's that's why we're separating it. We're not.
That's why you're separating it. Yeah. Okay. Okay, got it. Okay.
So just as far as clarification on that, are you saying that all of this grading that is directed towards the roadway is going to be changed so that all the grading is retained? I mean, all the runoff is retained on site?
No, just the impervious
That's what you will need to do. Okay, so so this will not meet building code to put the runoff into the private right of way.
That's why we're doing the infiltration trenches on site.
Okay, so you won't be directing runoff into the private right of way.
I thought you were talking about the grading in the front. No, we will not be doing that. That was the original plan, but we will be revising it to provide separate on-site infiltration for both.
Okay, good. That's good, because that was one of our comments. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Delia.
We'll be infiltrating basically under the front yard.
It will be in the back. The infiltration trenches.
Oh, they'll be in the back. Okay.
They will be outside the 50 foot. Obviously, we're gonna submit a plan showing where
Okay,
these.
okay.
will
The
go.
location. Yep.
Okay, and the only other comment I had was that the erosion controls were not adequate, but it sounds like you're submitting a whole different plan anyway, so
Not
need to-
adequate in what way?
So
they
just
would
to,
need to include, so Delia, sorry, please go ahead.
exactly, for something like this, you would want to have the straw wattles back.
Straw wattles and silt fence. Okay. All right, so we'll provide a new detail for that. We'll show the infiltration trenches that we're proposing, no longer directing runoff to the street. And the condition about the as-built for the foundation is acceptable.
Great. Are there any other comments from other commissioners?
This foundation plan is a course of construction anyhow, yes? We're not asking for a special one, are we?
I'm not sure I understand the
If
question.
you put a foundation in, the building department's gonna ask you for an as-built before you go forward, yeah? Is that what we're asking?
Yeah, I think it's just to confirm that we are outside the 50 foot and to not continue work to show that we are.
Right, but it's not a special plan, it's the same one that you'd be doing for the building department.
Yes, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just want to be sure we're not asking for, let's not do it twice.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, great. Did I see Gary had a comment or did I imagine that?
Nope.
No,
All set.
okay. Okay, thank you. Are there any public comments? Nothing, Delia?
Don't see any hands.
Okay, so Molly, we're proposing to continue to the 1st of December meeting.
I think the
This-
next meeting, the 17th, will be
The next one? Okay,
Yep,
so
we'll be able
everything
to
in
get
by
everything.
Friday.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a certificate of compliance. I can't remember what we do here, Delia. This is I need a motion, right?
I make a
Yes, Colleen,
motion
do you want
to, everything's
Greg.
done, I assume. I make a motion to issue a COC for 2112 Main Street, DEP file number 137-1319.
Thank you, Greg.
Second,
Thank you, Nick. I take the vote. Gary,
Aye.
Greg,
Yep, yes, aye.
Nick,
aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Thank you. We're now on to other business. We're doing record time today, guys.
Well, we finally got Ed out of the way,
So the Envision Concord Focus meeting, Gary, would you like to take us
Yeah,
away?
I mean, sure. I shared a letter with everybody but I think we've already discussed this a couple of times at this point. If everyone's okay with the language of the letter, we should ship it off to the select board, I think. But I'm happy to tweak things. Delia, I don't know if you want to put it on letterhead and sign it from the whole commission or something, that would be great with me.
Sure, actually, I won't be able to, I'm not in the office right now, but there's two ways we could do it. I could just do an electronic sign, which I think would be fine on behalf
Yeah.
of the commission, or if you would like to sign it all yourselves to come in, that's an option as well. It's really up to you how you want to.
I think electronic is fine. It's just, we want to share the information. And I would encourage, the commissioners to participate in the November 15th
Yep.
hearing of or I don't know if it's a hearing Susan, or is it just a meeting of the select board where you're going to be discussing and focusing on Envision Concord?
It's a meeting, and it's a focused meeting, and that will be the focused Envision Concord. So it's an opportunity for any commission or board who's proposed or updated their plan to present it.
Okay, apologies, Susan. I didn't realize that you were part of this.
Oh, I'm just a
of
fly on
Envision
the
Concord.
wall.
Oh,
You're
okay. I would have introduced you.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if we need to, I mean, Nick, Greg, did you have
Fine,
it?
it looked great. It looked great.
Yeah, it did look great. Yeah.
Excellent letter, Gary.
Yeah, much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So we'll get something, Dee, that'll trigger us to do the electronic signing, or how would that work?
Oh, that's even better. Well, Gary's shaking his head. I can do signature lines for each of the commission, or I can sign on your behalf, whichever you would prefer. If you all have an Adobe signature, then you can just drop it
I
into
don't
the
have one,
document.
so
But you
no.
tell me what
No,
is
I
easiest
don't
for
have
you.
one.
I just
Sounds
thought
like
it'd
I'll
be
sign for
easier
you.
for you to just, type in on
Yeah.
behalf
Yeah.
of the Natural Resource Commission and send it.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Keep it simple.
Susan will explain.
Okay.
We need
Okay.
a 14-year-old for that.
So we also have the NRC letter of support that Delia sent to us all for the recreation CPA application. Did anybody have any comments on that? Everyone okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, fine.
And did we have any administrative approvals today? Yes, one.
Yeah.
The
So
doghouse.
it's at 1124 Main Street at the Concord Green. The mysterious doghouse question at the last meeting. So that I got some clarification on it. It's basically a 12 square foot structure. Dimensions are 2 foot by 6 foot by 8 foot. It's going to be on a concrete slab, just directly adjacent to the building. And the reasonings are for, it's going to be for like a fire protection box on the outside. And there's been some noise complaints from the residents because it's now on the inside and it just beats off at, any sort of wet weather. So they're trying to just move it outside to prevent any further noise.
Okay, well, thank you for solving the mystery about the doghouse.
Yeah.
Also willing to do some plantings too. So
Thank you.
Mhm.
So I would now ask for a final motion, please.
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you,
Second.
Nick. Thank you, Gary. Greg,
Aye.
vote. Nick
Aye.
and Gary,
Hi.
and I'm an aye as well. Thank you, everyone.
See you all later.